Welcome to the Future of Hospitality podcast. I'm Luke Palladino, and today I had the pleasure to speak with one of my friends, legendary Philadelphia chef, Marc Vetri. Marc is the chef and founder of Philadelphia's critically acclaimed Vetri Cucina. In addition to his storied career in the kitchen, Marc is also the driving force behind the Vetri Community Partnership, a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering children and families through fresh food, hands-on culinary experiences, and nutrition education. In 1998, Marc opened Vetri Cucina in a historic townhome in the heart of Philadelphia. Marc was named one of Food & Wine's best new chefs, and in 2005, he received the James Beard Award for Best Chef Mid-Atlantic. Marc's latest culinary undertaking is Osteria Fiorella in the Red Rock Casino Resort and Spa in Las Vegas. What I really admire about Marc is his artistic sensibilities, his passion for music, and how he fell into the restaurant business, becoming one of the nation's most influential chefs. His experience staging and cooking in Italy, and how Marc's been a nonconformist in food, his opinions, and held his ground against the Americanization of Italian cuisine. Marc believes in service and people first in his restaurants, and that to be successful, a commitment to quality is the foundation of everything he does. Understanding what you want and creating your own niche is a powerful differentiator that separates you from the competition. Before we get into our conversation, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Meta Hospitality, who provides strategic restaurant consulting, planning, and tactical business expansion. They are concept creators and industry pioneers, providing unique, exciting, and profitable food and beverage concepts for entertainment districts, hotels, and casinos. Meta Hospitality is a development solutions company. Also, a quick shout out to the team at mainstage.pro, who is powering all of my creative content, including this podcast. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was a hell of an intro. You know how hard it is, just listening to somebody, say all that, all that about you. It's just it's sort of weird.
It's a little surreal.
Yeah,
you could have come 30 minutes later to this after I was done with your intro.
Showed up a half hour later.
Does it make you feel old now? All the experience you have.
It's just I don't I never sort of used to basically anybody reading all these these accolades about it just makes me feel like
it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a line cook,
It's awkward. Yeah. Well, it's just
like
you're in the spotlight, but you have a lot of great accomplishments, and you're one of the most influential chefs in the national restaurant scene today.
Well, thank you.
And what I've always admired about you is that, Marc, you've always been a nonconformist. You've always spoken up. You were never of the opinions of others or groupthink, and you were
for better for worse.
I've seen some of your Twitter arguments. But also you've held your ground against the Americanization of Italian cuisine, which I really respect, having lived and worked in Italy myself for many years. And I know that Italian cuisine is very dear to you.
It is. I mean, and that's kind of my life now. That's sort of my life's work. Yeah, because it was hard. When I first opened Vetri, and I was, and I had this sort of fun, sort of rustic style menu. This was 1998 when everybody was they walked in the restaurant. They're like, where's the meatball? Where's the this? Where's the that? And I was like, you know what? I don't have a meatball here. They don't even have those in Italy. So, but how about this? How about that? So it was an effort.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure, especially in Philly or any other market where I think with the immigration of Italians at the turn of the century, where people in, whether it's Brooklyn or South Philly or Chicago, wherever your Italian American neighborhood was, over time, the good and bad of it was that the generations lost touch with what was true Italian cuisine. It got diluted over the times, but yet these people had these memories, and when you know to cook something for you, no matter what it is, a meatball or anything else, it's like the dearest memory you have. And I
Oh
think
my
with
God.
Italian cuisine,
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing to really overcome with people. It's not like any other cuisine. Italian cuisine is very near and dear to us because it's very prevalent in our city's neighborhoods.
It's very regional. It's very rustic. It's very it's very family, and that was always something that I just really wanted to sort of to focus on. I mean, everyone has always been like if you open up this there, you have to have a salmon, you have to have this on the menu, you have to have this, but I was always like, well, so when they go to Italy, they don't look for that stuff. Why would they look for it, here? So I was always sort of fighting that, and I won the battle, but but there's always that, So I just kind of stuck to what I thought was the right thing.
Yeah, and it's tough. You always want to represent who you are and your passion, like going to Italy and spending all that time, like you and I did. And then you have partners or people or casinos, whoever they are, and they say, well, we love all what you do, but can you put chicken parm and this and some brujol on the menu, something that Italian Americans do, penne alla vodka, something that they gravitate to. Well, it's not what we do.
Which also, who doesn't love that dish, alla vodka? Like, I love it.
Of course, absolutely.
Nothing at all wrong with it.
Nothing wrong.
It's just something else.
But I think it's people like you that, so in and standing your ground, one is you stood out from the look, there's, how many Italian restaurants are there in the Philadelphia area? Anywhere.
A lot.
Many. And if you can look at their menus, you could strip the names off of them and not really know where you are. But with you non-conforming as you are, is that there was a difference in that you held your ground and that you would educate people on what real Italian food was, therefore creating your niche and making it so special.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it was 1998 was a lot of years ago, and it was a whole. I mean, the restaurant, the world way back then was there really wasn't internet much. I mean, there was the internet, but it wasn't like, I mean, we were actually thinking like, maybe we'll have a website. I mean, it wasn't something that was like automatic.
You didn't have to have
it. There was no, I opened up and there was nobody knew who I was. There was no eater. There was no anything being like, oh my God, this guy's opening. Yelp. There was no Yelp.
World without
He worked
Yelp.
for Wolfgang. He worked for this guy. He worked there. There was nothing. I opened and I had like 6 folks come in the first night, and I had like, nobody like knew about it. You had to earn it like every single night. Simpler times.
Yeah, and you took over the old Chanterelle space. It was
the old Chanterelle, but it was originally the old
Lebec Finn.
Lebec Finn space.
George
So
Perrier.
I bought it from.
So it's a legendary space.
Yes, he opened that up. He was there in 1969. He was there till 1983, and then he moved over to the other spot he was at, and then it was like there was some other restaurants. Lastly, it was actually the Chanterelle restaurant.
Yeah, Philip Chin, right? Is that right?
Philippe Chin, yeah.
It's that's a storied location. That's a special. There's got to be a special energy there. Because
there is a special. I mean, it was also like right. I don't know what it is. I mean, I love it there. I've been there the longest now. Philippe spent, I think, 6 years there, and when he left, he was like, it's just not large enough. You're not going to be able to make any money here. It's this and that. And I was just like, I don't understand that. I mean, literally, when I walked in there, because I remember, because I was living in New York, and I was at the restaurant Bella Blue.
Yes.
And I was there in 96, 97, and I was like 31 years old, and I was like, I got to open up my own restaurant now. So I started looking there, and then And then like my mom and dad were like, why don't you just look here? And I was like, yeah, I could actually move, and obviously once I saw the rents of like Philly versus like New York, I was like, I'm definitely moving home,
back,
but then I started looking around, and I had a whole lot of folks that were like, oh, I want to let you have $100,000 for this. I want to let you have $50,000. I was like, oh my God, okay, I can open up a nice restaurant. I can find like whatever, $500,000. I could do this. And I started looking, and there was like this one larger restaurant that was available. And once I started saying, okay, maybe this spot, everyone who offered money was like, you know what? Right now it's kind of hard. Maybe I can give you $5,000. I'm like, all right, I see how this is going. And then I started looking, and I heard a rumor that Philippe was looking. He had this other thing that actually he wanted to open up, and he was going to sell chanterelle. And I was like, all right, now let me, So I went in there, and I like walked in, and I was like, this is the spot. I mean, I knew right away.
Yeah, that gut feeling.
I just had that feeling. I had like 30 seats. It like reminded me of like the restaurants in Italy that I just like love, like those little restaurants, singly owned guy, the chef owned it, and I walked in, I was like, this is it,
Yeah, and for people who don't know, I mean, back then, even now in Italy, like that's all they would do is 30 or 40 covers, and there was no two turns in a night.
No.
It was like, if we do 30 or 40, we're working well, and that's it. And it's very
much. They also
much
opened at like 8 o'clock at night.
Opened at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and the further south, like in Sicily, it's like 9. Right? They're like, don't come till late. 9. It's like kind of like Spain. That's awesome. So, and your dad, Sal, the legendary Sal.
He was
everyone loves.
He was actually with me when I actually first walked in there, and he didn't understand. He was like, "This is way too small. Let's get out of here." I'm like, "No, Pop, this is it. But this is it." And then, this never happens now anymore. But he was like, "I'll sell you the restaurant with everything in it for $50,000, and then the liquor license was another $25,000. So you have everything for $75,000. So I was able to get a loan, and I think I stuck in another like $75,000. So I opened up Vetri in 1998 for $150,000. Like.
That's amazing.
Yes,
you're right. 25. It's liquor license is now Philly over.
So liquor license is $150,000 now. Yeah,
crazy.
Then it was.
That's awesome.
That was 23 years ago. So
that's super cool.
Yeah.
So Fiorella, I know. So that spot too in South Philly, in the southern in the Italian market, I used for years. They were Abruzzese origin in Italy, and they were Abruzzese. They're sausage makers.
Yeah.
And I used to go there. I went there for 25 years.
Sure.
And my favorite sausage of theirs was the pork liver sausage with so it's like a punto di coltello, right?
Yeah.
It's cut by hand, chunks, clear casing, the hog casing. Chunks of fat and enormous lemon peels in it.
It was actually orange peels. Yeah,
orange peels.
Yes,
orange,
he did orange. He actually showed me how to make it, and he didn't actually slice it by hand. He had this huge thing that he would actually stick it through. But he would like basically slice the oranges off like whole big sides and just like stick them right through like with the meat
into the grinder.
With the liver. It's incredible. Such a simple sausage, but he had his methods, and it just worked. He's an amazing guy. And I was like super lucky, and even like the name of it, the Fiorella name, so I was like thinking about this thing that so I wanted like a noodle bar. And I wanted to have just everyone's kind of sit up, right at, like 15 seats. And, I was 6 burner stove, and like that's it. And I wanted to make noodles. And that was it. Then I was thinking about a name, and I was I could do Vetri pasta, Vetri this, and then he was in there, and he was there with I think his wife, and he was like, "Yeah, what are you gonna name? What are you gonna name?" I was like, "I don't know. I got all these other names." I'm like, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I know this is like nuts, but what do you think if I just like use the Fiorella name? Like, that'd be sort of neat, right? And he just looked at me. His like eyes lit up. He was like, "Well, I would be so honored. I would be so honored if you did that." And I was like, "Really?" Because I was like nervous. I was like, I don't want to like, that's your fucking name, But he was honored. He like loved it. He let me use the name.
Carrying on the legacy.
Yeah. And he loves it.
Cool
And he stops in every now and then, and
That's great. It's a beautiful space. You kept a lot of like the counters and the marble.
Everything. You haven't made it there yet, have you?
I haven't seen it since it's.
But you show the photos of it. Yeah, it's we kept everything that was like there that like we were able to. The floor is the same. The wood that was on the wall. The ceiling is the same.
It's a very
the walk-in's the same. We basically like held the whole outside of the walk-in, and then we just made another walk-in in the walk-in, so it actually, so the outside looks like it's that old thing with the old handle and everything,
old wooden.
But inside there's a metal walk-in.
It's a new secure,
It's a little bit smaller,
airtight.
Airtight.
That works.
Yeah, that old walk-in
was
was
so cool.
Yeah.
So I know you're a musician, and that was your goal, right? And so how'd you transition from wanting to be a musician into the restaurant business?
I had always, I started playing the guitar when I was 14, and I just always loved it, so into school, and I was a marketing finance major, Drexel University, and so I used to work nights in the restaurants right around school, 3 nights a week, and I also worked when I was like 15, 16 years old, a few nights a week, and I just loved that, right? So I loved the food, and I was also loving the music, and after after school ended, mom and dad were like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I was kind of thinking I'd like to move out to Los Angeles to go to music school. And they were like, really? Music school, huh? I'm like, yeah, I would love to go to music school, maybe. So I went there. This is 1990, finished, my regular school, moved out to LA in 1990, went to the Musicians Institute. It's in Hollywood. And, how am I going to make money? The only way I know how to make money, work in restaurants, right? So I started working in a restaurant out there. And back in 1990, so Wolfgang was opening up the Malibu restaurant, Granita.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that. Yeah,
new restaurant, 1990. So I was in the music school, and I had heard about Wolf, and I was like, I gotta go work there, So I did the whole thing, which you also probably did. Nowadays, you're not allowed to do this because it's illegal. But I would just waited outside, and I was like, hey man, I want to work here. We don't have anything yet. And I went back every day. I was like, has anything happened yet? Oh, you know what? I think 3 weeks later, line cook, no shows,
You're in. That kid's still outside.
Why don't you hang out for the night? So I hung out for the night. They were like, hey man, why don't you come back tomorrow? I'm like, all right. I came back for 14 days in a row. And I was like, these guys are going to hire me soon, I hope, right? Just for free working. And then finally they were like, we want to hire you. So I started working there. So I was working like nights there, and I was like finishing up school, but it was like full time. I just that was my, I had never learned, I had never went to school to learn how to use a knife, learn how to make a stock, learn how to, stick orders away. Not that you have to, you know what I mean? Like to work on a line. I just, so that was my sort of restaurant school. I used to head in early. So after school ended, I used to ask if I could head in early because I wanted, to learn, how to make a stock, how to fillet a fish, how to slice that animal down. What's this? What's that? How to make noodles? How to do everything. So I used to head in early for free, and then I used to work the nights there, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and I was like still doing the music thing. I was in a band. We had some live things every now and then, but I really was I was like hook, line, and sinker in the restaurants. And I started learning, and I was there till like 1993, and then I was like starting to kind of fall out of love with Los Angeles, and I had this opportunity to go to Italy. So I went. I bought a one-way, and I went over there. And
I did the same thing. I bought a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
Without any plans to return, just my knives and a backpack.
No plans, no visa, no nothing. Yeah. Just like had $1,000, and I worked for about a year and a half, and so I worked at about 6 or 7 different restaurants, and for like a month here, 6 months here, 2 months here. And after I left, I was like, "Hey, here's a couple $100, and that's what let me sort of live over there, so.
Yeah, that's cool. I did. So when I went, my first time I went was 1993. And again, I flew. I had a couple grand on me. I had no idea when to return. I didn't know anyone. My time was really bad.
Yeah.
And I knew a couple names, but I didn't know much. So I had Faith Heller Willinger.
Oh yeah, Faith. Yeah, sure.
Eating in Italy.
Yeah.
I had her book, and that was my guide. So I would take these restaurants, and I would go around, and I'd eat in them. I'd go and eat, pay, and I'd tell them I want to eat traditional food, which they all were anyhow.
Yeah.
And then after the dinner, I'd ask them, I'd say, "Look, I'm a cook. I want to work for free." And every single time they took me in.
Yeah.
To work. So I'd stay a month, a couple of months, 3 months. And then it went on, and then I met.
How'd you afford to eat in them?
Yeah,
I was like,
so
it was not.
I was careful, and but that was it. And they were just amazing people, and that's how we don't see it's that can't happen these days. They
welcomed you, right? Like there was nobody who didn't like welcome you with like open arms.
They were amazing,
right?
It was like family,
and I think we were over there like the same. Like you were over there in 93, 94.
Yeah,
so was I.
I was.
Yeah. Yes, we were over there at the same time.
Interesting.
It's interesting. We didn't
run
into each other. We might have. I don't know.
We might have. It was a great experience, but
I had hair then, so you might not have recognized
probably,
me. Yeah.
I had a lot more.
Yeah.
It was a lot longer. But I think just young chefs today, they don't realize what we did, or working for free, staging, the grind we would put into, the dedication, showing up early before you could punch in to learn. Yeah. And that's what earned you the respect in the kitchen. And now you can't do that. But I think a lot of people don't have that work ethic any longer.
No, yeah, it's a whole different sort of world now. For better for worse, right? I mean, we worked our asses off. My thinking is like those extras, those extra hours, that effort, really sort of helped me to get to the next level. I think that without that, I would not have been able to open up Vetri right away. I would not have known as much. I don't think it just would have been the same thing. I think And I loved it. It wasn't work. Like, it's never work. Even now, like, this isn't talked about enough, I think. Like, the restaurant, the world now, how it is like, like everyone likes to say how awful it is and how like it's a hard environment and it's this and it's that. And it's like, I've never really found it like that. I've always loved it. I've always loved, being able to go to the restaurant because that's what I love. So it's really hard for me to listen and like, read articles on, the so-called toxic work environment when like I've made all of the efforts to not have that sort of environment, to have a fun environment.
Yeah, I think too, that's interesting. Food is so political now. And when people write about food, they're writing about race, sexism, and the unfairness of and dysfunction of the industry. And chefs are certainly the prime target, and sometimes rightly so, sometimes unfairly so.
Sure, of course. Like there's a lot of assholes in every field,
yeah,
for sure.
What's your thought on that? You and I have had discussions about this in the past year, in the past couple of years, how things have been going down. What do you think about that? This new generation of writers coming up in the industry.
Well, the writers and I have a love-hate relationship. There's like writers and then there's like writers. Like the writers that I don't actually like are the ones who just like, we have a whole bunch of writers in where I'm from, Philly, that 1 week they're like, "Hey Mark, I want to get into Fiorella. This is amazing, this and that." And then like 1 week later they're like, fucking Vetri, thinks that like, we should open right in the middle of this virus, and then the next month they're writing articles on like how the industry is awful and the whole thing we got to redo the whole industry. And then 1 month later is like, this is really going to be sad if the industry goes away. I really miss restaurants. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't know what to say.
My favorite focus or focal pointer, which is such bullshit, is the brigade system. People blaming the brigade system, and the people who write about the brigade system have no idea what it even means. It's just a structure.
Yeah.
And now that's dead because just restaurants can't afford that unless you're in a big hotel. Even hotels, it's done away with. So, but to blame that from the times of Auguste Escoffier till now, to say that that's the fault of it and it's militaristic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
is completely off base.
I don't think so either. Listen, I love my industry. I think there are lots of the issues that a lot of folks are actually writing about are certainly super valid. There's a lot of assholes out there. There's a lot of restaurant owners. They don't do the right thing. You also have to think about the evolution of like yourself, when I first opened Vetri, I always thought in order for me to make it, everything has to be exact. Everything has to be like this, so if the line guy was like, mailing it in or not like, really like loving it like I loved it, I was like, dude, come on, man. Like, what the fuck? But you evolve, right? Maybe I was a little bit more of a maniac back then, but you evolve, and like you learn things, and I think that as I have gotten older and I've gotten married and I have a family, now I'm like more of like the mentorship role. And everything for me now is just making everybody happy, making sure that there's a really nice work environment, and from like my the way I sort of look at things now is like run a happy work space, and like everybody's going to work harder, everyone's going to like it more, everyone's going to like showing up for work, and you're going to be more successful.
Building culture. That's important. It's funny you say that, because one of my biggest flaw, I think, and I only realize that now, was once upon a time, I was so passionate and loving, and I worked so many hours, it didn't matter. And if anyone who came into my kitchen didn't feel the same way, or have the same work ethic, or work as hard, or not make things perfectly, I like casted them out, or I couldn't understand it, and I had these demands on them that were really unrealistic, because I compared they had to be like me, and I couldn't understand why they weren't. And it's just not that way.
But the fact of the matter is, they're not like you, because you were the owner. You were like, this was like your whole life, and they were like, I want to be a line cook, I want to be this, or like, there's no way they could have the same sort of work ethic that you actually had at that time.
Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that. So now, it's about building culture, creating a great environment, having people come. Now, let's talk about the future of hospitality and restaurants. And what are the challenges? And what I know. So, what are the challenges for restaurants going forward? Do you think the typical American restaurant model is broken?
I mean, there's lots of stuff in it that I think should be sort of thought about. I certainly I don't have all of the answers. I don't think it's necessarily broken. I think it actually works sort of well. There's the wages, obviously. That's a really large thing right now. I mean, that everybody's sort of that's on the forefront of everyone, the minimum wage. But that seems to be sort of rising up now.
Industry wide. So have you done anything to democratize the wages between front and back of the house? That's a hard thing. I mean, there's a lot of folks now saying, like, they're going to add a service thing on there, and then servers, everyone's going to be able to make the same sort of wage, but that's going to be really hard. And I think a lot of restaurants have actually went that actual route, and they did it for 6 months, and then they went back. They went back to the old way. It's such a cultural norm. It's hard to break through that.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with the way it is. Folks are sort of, I think, not asking restaurant servers really what they think. Like, I think my servers from Osteria, from Vetri, from Fiorella, they were super happy the way it is. Like, they work hard, they make a nice living, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think they're going to want to make less than what they're making now.
Well, I think too, people talk about the industry and what goes on now like it's forced labor, like people don't have a choice. So if you're in a restaurant business and if you're a cook and you want to work your ways up the ranks and to become a chef and you're dedicated and passionate about it, that's a commitment. Or you're a server in the front of the house making $3 or whatever it is now, the minimum wage for servers, whatever, depending on what state you are, and relying on tips. No one's forcing you to do this, and I think that the perception, the way it's conveyed in the press, is that people don't have a choice. Like these poor restaurant workers are out there, and they're not living by their own choice.
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is, if you're starting off working salads, you're not going to make the same as the server who's out there, who's been working there for 15 years, who's been, who has learned, who's been working in this industry for years and years and years. But if you slowly work your way up, right? You know, the next station, then you become a sous chef, then you become an executive sous chef. You know, it's not that long before you're making, you know, whatever it is, $60,000-$70,000 a year, which is
and you have to build,
similar to what the server's making. And then you also have other, you have a salary.
Yeah, and you have to work your way up through the ranks and build your capacity like anything else. You build your capacity and your knowledge and skills to be a better cook and to have different skills, more skills, financials and leadership as well. So it's not an automatic. You can't blanket the whole kitchen and say everyone makes the same wage.
No,
right? And the front of the
not
house.
at all. Not at all. I mean, it's a very hard thing to, like, you know, have a real discussion about with anyone who is not in the industry, you know, and the folks who are actually making the rules about this stuff are not in the industry. They're just listening to some folks who are not happy the way that it's actually going, you know. So, you know, you run into this, like, you know, huge mess of, like, you know, the wages versus the service charge versus, you know, the labor. I mean, it's a very hard the discussion to have with anybody.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So I spent a lot of time in California, living in Las Vegas, and I see there, I go to restaurants. I was in LA a couple weeks ago, and they're charging, it varies, 2%, 3%, and 4% for extra. So it's either 2 or 3% or 4% for, and there's two charges. One is to help us pay benefits to our staff. The other one is like a service charge on top of that. So it's about 7% on top of the taxes you're paying, on top of the 20% gratuity that's expected. And then you see these restaurants where it's like, buy the kitchen a 6-pack of beer, which it doesn't mean buy the kitchen a 6-pack of beer. It means give us $10 for a 6-pack of beer, but we're really going to tip the cooks.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that? Like, how much can the consumer bear from the restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand all that stuff. I mean, listen, we've had Vetri for 23 years. We give health insurance. It was you know, one of the first things we did. You know when we opened, after our first year open, you know, we were like, we want to give health benefits. You know, so we've always given health. I mean, I pay 70%. We year 3 or 4, we started a 401k. I don't understand, and I know that a lot of restaurants, they don't offer that. But I don't think you need to ask for, like, more money to handle that.
To support your staff.
Yeah, I just think that's like,
I even saw a 3% COVID surcharge.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of folks are doing that. And listen, everyone's lost a lot of money, so they're kind of struggling, and they're figuring it all out. And, you know, I think a lot of that stuff was, you know, sort of fall by the wayside.
Or people just won't go to those restaurants. I mean, it was enormously expensive to go out and eat. With the pricing, the commodities going up, the menu prices have to go up. They have to. You can't survive as a restaurant.
Well,
but to charge 7% more between the two fees of labor and
then you also have to leave
20%
extra for the
tip,
server,
which is expected. So
yeah,
it's plus 8.75% tax. It's how much can the consumer bear? So
it can't, and they're not going to bear. I mean, we're going to be living in the world of the $50 hamburger soon. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I caution restaurants on that what they're doing, because I don't think it's a long-term. It's not viable long-term for the health of them.
I don't think so. Listen, I mean, I think the restaurant industry is not as awful as everybody says it is right now. I think it's a it's a wonderful industry. We're making folks happy. They're eating at the this isn't the restaurant industry. It's the hospitality industry. And now that we're up and we're open again, it's really awesome to see folks, make a reservation, eat at the restaurant, no mask, how happy they are. I'm so happy you're open. I'm so happy. It just makes the service feel good. It makes the line cooks feel good. It makes everybody feel good. And that's what we're here for. That's why I love this industry so much. And yeah, there are some not so nice apples in this industry who own fucking restaurants, who are not going to give health care, who are not going to give you, who are not going to, let you have the right hours that you worked, who are going to take advantage of you, and leave those restaurants and work in a restaurant with an owner who respects you, who offers health insurance, who offers a fair wage, who has a nice reputation.
Yes, and that's great, and you certainly are one of them, and thank you for that. And it's hard because we're getting there's a lot of negativity going around about what we do in our industry. So in the past year, Mark, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Meaning, like from the last year, like that.
So in this
big mess of last year,
tumultuous,
what have I learned
crazy
from?
year, like it could be personally, professionally. Like, what is it? What is the belief, behavior, or habit that's helped you most that you've realized?
Just really focusing on, I think what's important. That's certainly been a huge thing for me. Writing off the folks who were never there for me anyway, but I would always kind of, hold them around, and really, believing in folks who are always there for me. And I think,
kind of thinning the herd, right?
Yeah.
Realizing who's
truly
dear and sincere.
Not to always kind of take this back to the restaurant thing, but we've had the same staff as Vetri, for a lot of years. We have, the busboy Erasto has been with me for 23 years since we opened. He has a house. He's an American citizen now. He has we're family. All of the servers there have been with me for 10 to 15 years. We're family. The line cooks, the chefs, they all sort of stuck with us. And I stuck with them, we made it so they weren't sort of laid off, that they had income, having faith in those who have faith in you, and just really focusing on that.
That's really beautiful. Yeah. So, Mark, what are 1 to 3 books that have greatly influenced your life? It could be a cookbook, nonfiction, self-help, biography. Take your pick.
I think the one book that really sort of resonated with me is from the Outliers, from Malcolm Gladwell. So I read that years ago, and you're in this industry, right? You're working all the time, not reading a lot, but about 7 or 8 years ago, I started actually reading again, right? Oh my God, reading.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, what a concept, reading. And that was kind of the first one that I sort of read, and then I read it again, and I was like, wow, this is really so. This is kind of something that actually resonates with me. So that was kind of the first one, and then I started reading books like From Good to Great, which is kind of, I certainly use phrases from all these books, to motivate the chefs and everything, yeah. So that book, and my staff knows me, man, and I'm always like, man, this is really good. How you gonna make it great? So I use that a lot. And the third book I just read, there's a whole bunch of chef biographies out there now. And I just read Lisa Donovan's book. Is it called Perpetual Hunger of something? I'm going to fuck it up. But that was such an inspirational story. Her life. It was just an amazing book, So that was actually kind of one of the ones most recently that was super. I think it's inspiring to me. Yeah,
that's great. So let me ask: How has a failure or apparent failure set you up later for success? Do you have any favorite failures in your career?
I have a million failures every day. I mean, I think without failure, there isn't any success. I mean, listen, I don't really look at them as failures. I just think of them as hey man, you're on this the road, right? And sometimes you make a left, sometimes you make a right, but you're still heading here, but so they're not necessarily failures because you learn sort of so much from them, right? So so maybe I made some wrong decisions here and there, but then so when I go back and look at them, I'm like, well, it wasn't a wrong decision because I learned this from it, and if I didn't learn this, I would have never been able to get through that hurdle later. So was it a failure?
They're all blessings in disguise. There is no direct path.
There is no fucking direct path at all. Man.
It's not.
It's a windy road with lots of hills and valleys, and you just gotta stick it in first gear. Sometimes stick it in 4-wheel drive. Sometimes to get to get over those humps. But
I agree. I agree. It's all about mindset.
Yeah.
So, what's your most memorable or crazy restaurant story you've had in your career?
God, I mean, I've had so many crazy stories. I mean, it's just, you had to even say one. I mean, from letters that I've, received.
Like love letters?
No, not love not many love letters. A couple love letters, but more just I've ruined someone's it's almost they didn't like my restaurant and I've ruined their life. I'm like, man, if one night out eating at my restaurant has made you this angry that you're going to write me a 3-page letter, man, you got to see a therapist because it ain't me that's your problem.
It's just
I mean, we all have a million restaurant stories and of horrible nights or just things that happen that are nuts or a fire or I mean, there's a million things. I don't have one specific. I have so many.
Just a few letters or Yelp reviews.
Yelp reviews. I don't even read those anymore.
Good for you. It's better. What are bad recommendations you hear in our profession?
There's lots of bad recommendations. I would say staying somewhere where, you don't like working. You got to stick it out. No, you don't have to stick it out. If it's a bad environment, you should leave. You should go work somewhere else. But I've heard that a lot, right? You got to stick it out. You got to show that you can do.
Take the abuse.
No, you
can
don't.
do it. You don't.
No, you
I
don't.
agree.
Yeah.
What do you see as a worthwhile up and coming trend?
There's a lot of like new style restaurants right now that are, sort of using the line cooks, with an open line as like also sort of serving, I think it's really neat. I think in the long run, you're going to see like, you're going to be able to save on labor, and and you're going to be able to make the back of the house sort of, work more with the front of the house because they are the front of the house. So they're more like forward facing, and I think it's a really neat thing that we should look into more. I mean, when I open up Fiorella, you have like the one line that's right on the bar, and you sit there and the line cooks they're interacting with you. The folks eating there are like, asking the line cooks, hey, what's in that? What's that? And they love it. And there's kind of something happening that I love. But we're still sort of figuring it out. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing.
I think it's really cool. I love the idea of bringing the cooks out because, we grew up in the kitchen. You're housed in the kitchen all night long. You don't have any interaction with the guests.
Exactly.
And for us, what we do and the dedication, all the hard hours and commitment and work we put in, it's about passion and love for what we're doing. We're really givers. And it's about connecting with human connection in the end of the day, and hospitality is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a beautiful thing. So I love that as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of your wellness habits. What are they? Like, what do you do for your body, mind, physical, mental health?
Well,
I know you're
I work out a lot.
jiu-jitsu.
I'm very much into fighting, very much into the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I love it. Subbing on it for about 12 years now, but I also love hiking. I love to do a lot of fly fishing. Summertime,
That's fun.
and that's really for like the mind. I mean, I'll go fishing basically most Wednesdays, and we'll go on hikes, an hour and a half hikes up, to some high elevation area where there's like
in Colorado.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
in Colorado.
It's in Colorado. Sweat them out in Colorado.
Beautiful.
So I'm out there like most of the summer now. We'll go on hike to some high elevation lake, and we'll just kind of sit there, fish for 4 or 5 hours, hike down. It's just magical, and it's just like sort of rejuvenates yourself.
Awesome.
And
I love fly fishing.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at it. I've never caught anything. I've gone
Never got anything?
I've gone several times.
Well,
never
dude,
caught a fish.
come on! You got to visit us.
I got to
out
come
there.
to Colorado. I'm in the wrong lake.
Yeah, you're in the wrong way.
But I love it. I love the process. And what else? Do you have a meditation?
You had an open invite.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Do you have a meditation practice of any sort?
I don't meditate. I'm very lucky. And I don't linger on things. I don't get super weighted on like the issues. Stuff doesn't stick with me a while. I mean, I can sort of let things roll off my shoulders really easily. So I just don't. I don't have that thing. A lot of folks have where they just sort of think about things and they can't they can't fucking sleep, and they're thinking about things all evening. Oh my God, I was up all night thinking about this thing. Man, I go home, if I had the worst fucking day, I go home, I'm out. I sleep, I wake up, it's a new day. And I recognize how lucky I am, because not a lot of people can do that.
You have a clear conscience.
Dude, I am just like Zen. I don't know why. I don't know how I do it. The most, honestly, the most stress that I have ever been is this last year, when I thought like I was going to lose everything. And even that, I wasn't crazy stressed. I mean, I was a little bit stressed, but
who wasn't?
Who wasn't stressed this year? But yeah, I'm able to sort of, look at things and, say, hey, you know what? Not a big deal. We're going to figure it out. And I could sort of move on to the next thing without just kind of thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it.
Well, you're very fortunate. Very fortunate.
I am. I realize that. My wife hates that about me, because she'll be like, how are you fine right now?
I just meditated for 3 hours and you're cool.
That was like an hour ago. Why are we talking about it?
All right, let's do some quick fire questions here.
Quick
a little
fire.
roundup here. We're going to go through these quickly.
I should have read these, because then I'd be more prepared.
There'll be more
Yeah.
natural.
You did send them in fairness, but I just didn't look at them.
All right, what's your favorite food movie?
My favorite food movie, the one, you know what? I love the one with the rat. What's it called?
Ratatouille?
Ratatouille.
Yeah, that was
love
great.
Ratatouille.
That was great.
Yeah.
Cool. How about
And my son loves it too, so that's why I sort of watch it
it's a
over
family
and over.
thing. That's great. Favorite country to visit? I probably know the answer.
Italy, of
Italy,
course.
right? Naturally.
That's home.
What's your drink of choice?
Aperol Spritz.
Aperol Spritz.
Dude, every day I can have an Aperol. I love it.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big espresso drinker.
I am yes. So of course I'm a big
Aperol first,
I have about
espresso.
14 espressos a day, but I only have one Aperol Spritz.
What food should be illegal?
Chocolate.
Chocolate?
For me, it's like fucking heroin.
Oh, so you can't control yourself?
No,
and eat
I
chocolate.
cannot control myself. Yeah, that's
you should be.
That's why I think it should be legal. Yeah.
Is it locked up at your house?
It's locked up. I have no control over myself.
I'm a chocolate lover too.
Yeah.
How about your bucket list? What do you need to experience before you die?
What do I need to experience before I die? Just more life, man. You got one life, and that's it. So I just want to live a lot more of it.
We're not here to play it safe, Mark.
No, we are not here to play it safe.
What life advice would you give your younger self?
Don't worry about the small stuff. Focus on the big picture. I think a lot of folks would say that. It's a hard thing because sometimes I think, well, like I had to act like that and I had to be super into this in order to get to that next level when I was that age, because nobody was going to listen otherwise. But then I think, maybe I didn't have to be, but you can't second guess,
Yeah. So I guess take some of the pressure off yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're growing up. I understand that well. If you could broadcast or skywrite a message or quote that everyone could see, what would it be?
There's a line. There's a fucking quote, and I think it's from Dr. Seuss. Those who matter, they don't mind, and those who mind, they don't matter.
All right, love it. That's great. That's great. All right, now let's enter the plug zone, Mark. Tell us where people.
We got a lot of zones here.
People can find you. Well, I'm not a master. I'm the master of the zones. We're trying to master
the zones. Marc Vetri, everything. That's it. I don't have a lot of,
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Marc Vetri.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Marc with a C, Vetri.
Marc with a C, Vetri.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, we'll post this in our show notes. Mark, this has been a joy for me having you on the show. Thank you so much.
It's been really fun,
for being
man.
here
Thanks for
today
having me.
in sunny, beautiful Las Vegas.
You're a brother,
you.
brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
To all of you out there, thank you for listening. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Future of Hospitality podcast.